Hey y'all, my name is Tamra Andress. I am your Fit and Faith podcast host. I'm pumped to be here. Just me, no words, no scripts, no intros, no outros. I love authenticity. I hope to breed vulnerability. And I usually do this alongside another dreamer, mover, shaker, entrepreneur, passionista is what I love to call them. If you're a dude, then a dude. But I am loving just coming together in community with other people to share their high and low stories, to share their journeys to comeback, because I believe ultimately that's where God would have us. He would have us on the mountaintop. And even though we learn a ton in the pit and in the valley, God would want us right now, especially in this season of life, in this time of our culture, to shine. And so here I am. I want to teach you how to shine. I want to be alongside you when you get your glow. I want to catapult you into your calling, whatever that is. So this isn't a fitness podcast. This is not a religious banter, though we preach Jesus all day long. And this is not just about nutrition or health or wealth, though I like some green, and I know you do too. It's not okay for us to not be okay with talking about all of these things in unison. You guys, we don't just need a mental health podcast. We don't just need a fitness podcast. We don't just need a religious, spiritual podcast. It needs to blend. This is what Fit and Faith is all about. It's all about creating alignment, connectivity. It's about pursuing your wholeness and claiming it over your life and over the lives of the loved ones that you have around you in your community. So thank you for tuning in. I would love to get to know you more. You can like, review, subscribe, whatever it is. Send me an email, DM me. It's me. I have an amazing team alongside me, but you guys are getting me for now. So enjoy. I'm so pumped to have a coffee conversation with you, is what I'd love to call them. Don't have my coffee right now, but I have it in my system, as you can see. All the love. Let's do this together and keep going for your dreams, y'all. We are here in studio with Amy Harris, and I'm so excited. We were just reminiscing over our JMU days. So Duke Dogs all the way.
Yes.
We're so pumped about that. Just affiliation and knowing that already, even without Jesus, though he is number one,
yes,
we're already sisters because we rocked purple and gold for 4 years.
Yes.
5 because she was in the master's program. But there's so much more to you than that, and JMU and all of that. So I'm excited to see like the parallel of how something that was implanted into you at that time has now come to fruition.
Yes.
And that's part of my story too. So I'm excited for us to kind of share and get to know one another in that way. I feel like I'm staring at your mic. Do you want to pull it down?
Pull it down? Yeah, you just tell me.
Yeah,
there.
Perfect. Now you can see your beautiful face.
Okay.
I got these little pop filter things. You probably know more about them than I do.
No, I don't.
So Amy wears so many titles. We all do these days, it feels like, but ultimately just a sister and a daughter of the King. But really why I know her and how we got affiliated was through Adore Fest last year, which was something the Core Creatives girls were deciding to put on in parallel with Safe House and to support of, and you came on as the worship artist for the event. And so I was like just pumped because I love music. I mean, anything music oriented. But now I just learned that you are also a violin player.
Yes.
Do you ever bring that up on stage these days?
I don't do that often. Most of what I do now with violin is studio work.
Okay.
And playing at weddings still.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So do you ever overlay onto your music, your tracks with your own violin there?
If I can make it happen.
Okay.
So with Lindsay and I and The Hope Within,
Yeah.
we only have one song right now, which I'm so proud of. I don't want to say only one song.
Of
I'm
course.
so proud of that one song
Yes.
now that we've recorded. I didn't do any live strings on that parts, but it's cool because our music producer, Stuart McLeod, he is amazing, and we were able to really kind of construct this like almost orchestral sound in the background of it.
Awesome.
So even though it wasn't live streamed,
Sure.
I was totally totally fine with like creating it in that way.
Cool.
You know, even though it was on the keyboard.
Cool. That's so awesome. So I'm so glad you're here. I don't even know where to start. That was just like a segue because I had to have an answer to that. I was a Yellow Card fan back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
And they had the fiddler,
Yes.
right? And I went
So
to
good.
like 8 Yellow Card concerts. That was like my jam. And
That's
I would just
amazing.
love the breakout of the fiddle because
Yes.
it was so different and it wasn't in like mainstream string music.
Yes.
And so anytime there's a string instrument, besides obviously guitar or something, it's just beautiful.
Yes.
So I'm excited about
that. I love you even more
now
too. I love Yellow Card. You're right. Like that solo in Ocean Avenue. It's iconic. It's so good. I think that made every like violin player and anybody who plays
sexy.
Exactly. Like, we're cool.
That's hilarious.
We're cool now. You know.
That's so good. I don't even know if they still like make music. I probably haven't listened to them since like 2009 maybe.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Too funny. Well, let's jump in. I want to learn like more about you, like where you came from. I don't even know if you were born and raised here. Okay, so just like let's start. Let's go.
So born and raised in Chesapeake, Virginia.
All right.
Yes. A product of the local public schools.
Love it.
There, but I'm super thankful because that's actually where my music started. So I did like 5th grade strings program.
Cool.
And then just kept playing and went to Joff Middle School, went to Western Branch High School.
Okay.
Graduated from there. And I was blessed with like my class. We had such talented people that were in the orchestra.
Cool.
So like I said, like to me, orchestra did not have this stigma of like these like orc dorks, you know?
Yeah.
Even though I totally was one, like, and I did not lie about practicing.
Yeah.
I was always like the kid. I would come home from school and I swam and I did a bunch of other stuff, but I loved to play music. I just loved it, and I loved playing my violin. I still think it's my best instrument, just because I've played it for 18 years now.
Wow.
Which is so long.
Crazy to think.
It's more than half of my life.
That's so cool.
It's so long. So yeah, so 5th grade and just my schooling here, amazing, starting the violin, and then that kind of brought upon other instruments that I play. But always have been this kind of, you definitely like this creative person.
Yeah.
My mom and dad could definitely attest to that. I'm a middle child.
Oh, me too.
Yes. Middle child. And so I feel like just even from a very young age, I love to draw, I love to write my journal, I love to make stories. I was never one of those kids in school that like was like, ugh, whenever we had to write.
Yeah.
You know, I was always just like, yes.
Yeah.
And so for a long time though, like the outlet was me just journaling and writing down my thoughts, writing down my feelings. I've been a believer my entire life.
Wow.
I got baptized when I was 11.
Yes.
My mom and dad are believers and have always been, in one way or another, leaders in our church.
Okay, amazing.
And so got involved with worship because my dad was on the worship team. And when I was 13, that's when I learned how to play guitar, because he was kind of like, hey, Aim, let's learn how to play guitar so that you can help me on Sunday mornings. Yeah. And so I did, and I was terrified. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I didn't like guitar, like violin and piano were similar because of just, I don't know why, it just made more sense in my brain.
Okay, interesting.
Guitar was just, I don't know, it was challenging to me, especially back then, like we played way more hymns and things like that.
Okay, sure. So that was
lots of chord changes, lots of like very different, just like, and I'm, like I said, I like to do everything perfectly. So I got involved in worship when I was 13, and that kind of started that path that I've been on since. I mean, I've been involved in worship, in worship leading, literally since then. So anywhere that I've ever been at any church. And so that's really special too, just to always have that kind of time with my dad. Yeah. And to kind of really credit him and my mom too, just
supporting you.
Their support. Yeah.
So amazing.
It's amazing.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing that I ever really connected with my dad, I mean, we connect on many levels, but the thing that was kind of our thing was him driving me to and from gymnastics. And like he would stop off at 7-Eleven and I would get a Hershey bar, like a full-size Hershey bar. And that was like totally outside of our norm of like, we never had candy in the household. Yeah. That was like his way of being like, I'm going to treat you to something. And we had a 30-minute drive to Chesapeake, which seemed like eternal. Forever. It still feels eternal, honestly. But we would take the back roads, like past Butt Station. And I just remember chewing on my Hershey bar, and like that was our time together. And so I think it's really special now understanding like the love of our Heavenly Father. Like
where the huge value comes into play with your earthly dad to comprehend that relationship. And so what an amazing way to say that you did it through like worship. I mean, heavens, that's amazing. It's just really beautiful. I didn't come from a family that went to church like my whole life. We went like sporadically, and so it was definitely a variation from what you experienced. But I'm such a daddy's girl. I've always been a daddy's girl. So I think that there's that innate love that we have for one another. But now we don't spend as much time together, which I wish that we did. But I think it's just life and being different on different pages right now with having little kids. So you have that as well. Your dad's still local? Your parents still local?
Yes, my parents actually live like 5 minutes from me right now.
So
and we do family dinner every Sunday night. So like my sister and her husband and her kids come over, and my brother's there, and my aunt comes. Like we have this like tribe of the, it's like the Henderson clan. That's my maiden name, and that's like, I feel like that's always where we're rolling. Like it's always those like 13 people. But I'm so thankful. I know I value that, especially as I've grown up a little more. I value my family so much, and just the support that they offer, you know. And I love that you connected it to the Heavenly Father. Like I always thank my dad, like I'm so glad that God chose you as my earth dad. Like because
so good.
I couldn't have gotten any better.
That's amazing. Really amazing. So you're loving music, but that's definitely a part of your storyline. Tell them, because you shared with me briefly, but like the whole experience of like getting into JMU, because that's going to be a part of the conversation for sure. It can't not be. Share. That was so cool. And that how the music part played a role in that.
Yes. So I wanted to go to JMU, like literally since I was in middle school. I used to go to their spring string theme camps and play violin there. We got to stay in the dorm and eat at the dining room halls, and I just thought it was the coolest place in the world. And so really since middle school, I was like, Mom, I'm going to JMU. Like that's where I'm going. And then when I really solidified that I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be a lot of things. I just wanted to be a lot of things. But I knew that I loved being around kids. I was a swim coach in high school, and I just loved kids. And I was like, okay, I think it'd be so cool and I love children's books.
Yes. Okay.
I always have been obsessed with children's books. And so I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to like teach and work with elementary kids. And I kind of felt like that was the dream at the time. That was the God-given dream when I was in high school. And so JMU was like the plan. Gonna go, and I applied for early admissions, and I got waitlisted. And so I was like discouraged, but I was like, it's fine. We still have regular admissions, you know, whatever. And I had good grades, and I was involved in a lot. I was involved in leadership roles, my church stuff. Like I feel like on paper I looked good, but my SAT scores were not the best.
Like, where's the loophole?
Sorry, Mom. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because like I did the best on the writing portion of the SAT, and that's like the part they don't count.
Right.
At least that time.
Hey, now
so
it matters.
Luckily,
we don't have to still put that on our resume.
Oh, I know. I'm so glad. But I actually, and I had also applied to Virginia Tech. Because that was a school that I could see myself going to if JMU wasn't an option. I knew that I wanted to go away from home. I knew I wanted to just be away. You know what? My essay was the reason I got into Tech. I wrote an essay about how my success won't be defined by my SAT scores.
I love it.
That was a good move by me. I got into Tech. And I was like baffled because just number wise, it was more difficult to get into. And I was like, how did I get into Tech and not get into JMU? And so regular admissions comes to pass, and I got waitlisted again. And I was gutted. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to Tech. And I just accepted this. And I was like, okay, Mom, going to Tech. We're sending our deposit. You know, this is what we're doing. And then a couple weeks later, I get a phone call from JMU telling me that they were offering me a place. And my connection with their music program and just with some of the people in there, I think is what helped. And so I remember being in such turmoil, like 17-year-old girl, like just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Like I was like, God, I accepted this like new path to Tech, and now I don't know what to do. And I remember my mom just being like, Amy, you've always wanted to go to JMU. Like, what's your gut telling you? And I was like, my gut's telling you I want to go to JMU. I want to go to JMU. And so ended up being like, okay, we're going to JMU. And so we ended up there, and I actually did audition for an orchestra. I originally was not going to play any music at JMU. Yeah. I was like, I need a break. Yeah, like, I've been doing this a long time. Yep. And I know I'm good, but my mom was kind of like, you know what, that's kind of what helped you get in. Yeah. So, like, maybe you should, you know? And so I auditioned for an orchestra and actually ended up getting into one of their reading orchestras, which was great because I literally just got to show up and sight read music. Cool. It was really fun. Yeah. Also, though, I was such a freshman and I didn't actually register for it. It was technically a class. Oh. So you just didn't? I didn't register for the class. So, like, they're taking roll, like, for midterms, and, like, I'm not on the rolls. And I was like, why am I not on the roll? And they're like, well, did you register? And I said, no. I was like, I auditioned. I was like, I had to know every scale in the book to audition for this orchestra. Oh, and my God. You guys, I still had to go register. And they're like, yeah. Oh, and I was like, no. So Jamie has no record of me participating in that orchestra, but I was in it. That's hilarious. Oh, it was I was like, oh, Mom, this is terrible. So I remember, though.
Did you stop going after midterms? You were like, no, I'm committed.
I did keep going because we did have a concert. Okay. But then once we had the concert, I stopped going. Yeah,
I would too.
But it was so fun. And, you know, it took the load off. Like, I was like, sure, I'm literally just showing up and I get to play music and there's no weight at all on me. And I think just the adjustment from going to being alone and independent and taking class, and I took a full load all the time. So, yeah.
That's too funny. So were you behind based on your credits because you took a full load, or you would have had 18 versus 15?
I don't remember. Okay. I think I always took at least 18 credits. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, because the teaching program at JMU, you take more gen ed classes than any other major on campus. Oh, lovely. Just because you're interdisciplinary liberal studies and you've got to take them all. And so I never once was behind, but I always had a full course. Yeah. Always. I really think I was always at least 18 credits. Wow. Some semesters around 20, 21. It just kind of depended on what classes I needed to get done.
That's so crazy. Yes. I think I was always 15. Yeah. And I think that's probably more normal, right?
Yeah. I think that's around like 4 classes.
Okay.
I guess I always took 5.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 18.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, I showed up to most of them. Yeah. And sometimes I didn't, and that's just what it is. But I still graduated on time, and all that was good. And even to this day, like, I remember a few years ago sitting in the Starbucks, and at that point, and we can kind of segue into kind of what has emerged since JMU. Yes. But I had not written a formal resume since I graduated in 2008. Okay. The way I chose my career path, it was a JMU project through the business school, and my junior year, when everybody was going to job fairs, I basically told my mom, like, I think we should do this. I think we should, like, hit the ground running when I graduate. Amazing. So we chose to do that. My mom was in support of it, and she kind of shared the vision and kind of helped cultivate the entire concept with my business class. I don't know if my professor would give her credit at this point, but we did all the legwork. And so, we decided to do that right out of school. And circa, 8 years later, 9 years later, I found myself sitting in a Starbucks to write a resume to go back to work and being like, I don't want to do this. I literally had no desire, but financially it was something me and my husband decided that I needed to do. And I remember just crying as I wrote this resume because I felt like I had just come through all of this release of identity, all of this release of titles, all of this release of this is what defines me, my major, my jobs, my CEO positions, all these things I just let go of, and now I'm being asked by the world to put them back on to me so that somebody can look at me on a piece of paper and decide if I'm right fit. And I hated it. I was so upset. In that very moment,
I got an email for a Christine Kane conference. And it was a preaching and teaching conference, and I immediately booked it, called my husband, and was like, babe, this just came through, this is really where my heart is, I want to do it. And he's like, sure, like, whatever, you can, get the trip, go, like, and I'm like, yeah, but also I don't want to apply for jobs. And he's like, wait, hold on, that wasn't the deal, that's not the conversation on the floor. So I ended up doing both. I chose to do it, and I submitted my resume that day to like 8 different marketing companies locally, and didn't hear back from one of them. Went to the Christine King conference, and basically my life has just been on that trajectory of mission-based, trusting in God, that I don't have to have a resume, and that, don't get me wrong, people who are in the professional setting, I get it. However, nobody qualifies you except for God, even in those reigns. So when JMU said no, it in text said yes. At the end of the day, God was still like, nope, I get the final say. And you still got into the path that He intended for you. So I love that, like, that connection and what it's done for my life. And I really hope that for other people, that they can come into understanding that your path, your plan might not be God's plan, but somehow they're going to intersect. And when that happens, it's going to be that aha moment of, I trusted in you, and now I see what you intended all along. So cool that's your journey. And then you said your husband went to school there, like, forever. Your brother, your sister, like everyone, the whole clan. So you were always all rocking the purple and gold. So what did they think about we're going to segue, because I told you she's doing a lot of things, into the Dreamcatcher book. She's also a published author, which this is the cutest thing. I can't wait to read the whole thing. So how did this get implanted while you were at JMU, and where has it come since then?
So once I got into my master classes, so I was in grad school, there was this creativity class that we were all required to take. Favorite class ever. Amazing class, where we literally just learned how to literally intertwine creativity into everything we're doing as educators. That's awesome. To obviously help with student engagement, student level learning. Like, it's so important that creativity is available and encouraged, because it's your highest level of thinking. You are creating, you are literally using your brain at its highest level of thinking. So I'm super nerd about the brain.
Yes, I love that.
So but I loved it, and so we were required to keep this creativity journal throughout that class, and we always had to journal about capital C creativity and lowercase c creativity. So capital C creativity was like what you experienced and how you experienced creativity in the world around you. You could have read an article, you could have seen it, you could have, whatever it may be. And then like your lowercase c creativity was like in your personal life, how or what were you doing that was creative that week.
I gotcha. Okay.
And so for one of my lowercase c entries, I was just sitting there like preparing for the assignment and journaling, and I thought of this quote, I believe in you and all you can do, so dream your biggest dreams and I'll catch them with you. And I kind of expanded upon it and kind of wrote it in that journal. And I don't remember exactly, I should have brought the journal. I don't remember exactly what I wrote, but I just remember it had that quote in it. And so when we got to class and it was time for some of us to share from our entries, I had just a moment of brave and offered to share this poem that I wrote.
I love it.
And after I shared it, like everyone in the class clapped. Like, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so good! Like, amazing, amazing, amazing!" And I was like, "Oh man, I was just like, I could do this. I could like write this. I could write something." I feel like that's such a good quote. It could be a part of a story that's bigger than what it is. And let me backtrack for a second. Because my freshman year at JMU, I had written this terribly illustrated children's story called Phil Goes to Europe. That my mom is obsessed, my family's obsessed with Phil Goes to Europe. It's so badly illustrated.
Oh my gosh,
it's terrible. But
some books like really go viral like that, right?
She's like, no, I don't want. I'm gonna actually redo Phil Goes to Europe so the illustrations are better because they're so bad. But I wrote Phil Goes to Europe when I was 17, right after I graduated high school, I actually went on a family trip to Europe.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so while I was in Europe, I was writing Phil Goes to Europe. Phil is a penguin that is traveling through Europe, okay? And so when I got to JMU that first semester, I got an email about this literary magazine that they had.
Yeah.
And it was called like Hopscotch Kids Writing for Kids or something like that. And you could submit your work to it.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, hey, I'll submit Phil Goes to Europe. Like, let's see what happens. And of course, Phil Goes to Europe got chosen. And it was placed in that literary magazine. And my mom's like, that is your first published work.
Yes.
You were so right, Mom.
Yeah.
But the illustrations are terrible. Like, the drawings are so bad.
I gotta see it.
So it's in this literary magazine, and what JMU does with that is they distribute it to the local elementary schools and local libraries. Those editions are all in their libraries, so that's where you can see it.
Go to
in the College of Education, you could find Phil Goes to Europe. So that was kind of also a little bit of a defining moment. My mom always was like, Amy, you should write children's books. You should write children's books. You know, the stories that I would make up and tell to her, or the drawings that I would be doing at home in my free time, she was just like, Amy, you're so creative. Like, you could do that. But I always kind of viewed that as like the 15-year dream. You know, like I was like, teaching is the stable thing. Teaching is the thing that I'll do. And I'll just write in the summers. And that's what I'll do, you know? And then, so I come up with Dreamcatcher, and after that moment, I just kind of wrote out this almost long poem of what it is now. And I let people in my life read it, and I've always had such support from everyone around me, like in my writing and in my creating, and I do firmly believe that God affirms through other people.
I so agree with that.
So I really just kind of kept my ears perked up to that. Like, so each new person that I would give Dreamcatcher to edit, to give me their thoughts, you know, and I really did. I gave it to so many different people. Let them read them. I read Dreamcatcher, the poem at the time, to every single class of students that I had. And one of my friends in college, like, she was so obsessed with the I believe in you quote. Like, she was like, can you make that for a sign for my classroom? So I did that for her, you know, just like affirmation after affirmation after affirmation of my writing. And so I just I graduated, and Jack and I got married before I even went to grad school. So graduated, moved back here, and got my first teaching job at Greenbrier Intermediate School. And just started that, and starting the real life job, you know, the big girl job. I love teaching. It's even hard for me to say still. I've only been out of it for, 6 months now. But
this is the first year.
This is the first year that I haven't taught. I taught for 5 years total. But starting the big girl job and seeing just how much it required of me, because teaching is just no joke. There's just no other way around it. And I had best case scenario. Like, my school was amazing, admin was amazing, coworkers amazing, my parents were amazing, my students were amazing. Like, of course there were challenges, like there always will be in any job setting, in any education setting. But I had best case scenario, and I had Wilder, my son, during my, thank you, I do too. I had him during my 3rd year of teaching, and I had him early, and he had a very traumatic NICU stay, very traumatic just entry to this world. And so that year, he was born in March. I didn't come back the rest of the year. I stayed home with him, but I was gung-ho on going back to work. Like, not once was I like, nope, I'm supposed to stay home, I'm supposed to do anything else. Like, and I was still writing like little stories. You know, but I was just like, nope, I'm supposed to go back to teach. I don't feel like I'm supposed to leave yet. And so August comes around, and we have the best childcare in the world. And I go back and I teach another year. And that year was so challenging. Just for so many different reasons. Mainly because of my health, and mainly because of just healing from the trauma of everything with him. But still, I had, like, God was giving me the grace for it. Like, I was like drowning basically, Like, I was basically drowning. Like, when I look back to that year number 4, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember a lot of it because so many things happened that it just required so much energy for me. I had obviously was a new mom, an infant, you know. It was insane. But I still was like, no, I'm supposed to go back to teaching. Like, I'm supposed to be doing this. And I still had this other dream in my heart of, oh gosh, I wish I could write more. I wish I could create more, da-da-da. But I still was just like, no, teaching is it. Teaching is it. So I go back for my 5th year. And I'm not even kidding you. I get like a month into my 5th year. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Wow.
And I start to talk to Jack about that. Like, what does this mean? Do I just have a bad attitude? Like, I remember asking God, like, if it's my attitude, just help me change it. Like, because even on my hardest days of teaching, my students motivated me every day to be back there. And so I would come back to work every day and be so stoked to be there. You know, even after I felt like I've been trampled upon. Like, it was fine. I was, like, so excited to be there and to teach them and to inspire them. And Jack and I really prayed for several months through that fall and that winter time. And by winter, like, I was like, babe, God's not giving me the grace to do this anymore. Like, it's not my attitude. It's just, I don't have the grace to do this anymore because I'm not supposed to do it anymore. Or at least right now. And it's amazing because the moment that I, like, accepted that.
Spoke it out.
That I was like, okay, God, you got it. And again, had a lot of people in my life just affirming, even affirming that decision. Like, affirming this right now, it's just not, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And God had just put the right people in my life. And I was not even planning on publishing Dreamcatcher until the fall of 2019. But God just, like, put every person I've had, my illustrator, Steve Schwartz, who's amazing. He's local. I met him through just our worship collective. And I remember just reaching out to him and being like, hey, could you, like, read this story that I wrote? I'm looking for an illustrator, and I would love for you to do this artwork. Just because I believe in your artwork. I love it. You're amazingly talented. And he was just like, yes, like, I love this story. I'll do it. And so I was like, okay, cool. So he starts working on it. And I'm not even kidding you. In like 2 months, he has all these illustrations done. They're all done. And I was like blown away because I was like, oh my goodness, I think I could publish this soon. And I ended up getting a writing coach. And getting a marketing coach. Her name's Jill Ferguson, is my writing coach. She's amazing. She's out in California. And she walked me through just, like, what would be best for me as an author right now. Like, how should I publish this? Should I do the self-publishing route? Should I find a bigger publisher? What's the best thing to do? And just from, at that point, obviously I'm still in the middle of my school year. You know? And she was kind of like, listen, like, I really think that because you love art so much and you really want to have control over that, you should self-publish this. Because then you'll be able to make sure it looks the way you want it to look. And so I chose the self-publishing through Amazon. Which has been amazing. So cool.
Good to know.
It has been so amazing. I'm definitely all for it, yes. Definitely a lot of things that I learned. Jill, I'm so happy I had Jill because she just walked me through just different things of, like, because technically I am a business.
Absolutely.
You know, like, I own a business. I own a publishing company.
That's crazy.
So it's like, there's a lot that I need to learn still on that end. So yeah, like, Steve got everything done so quickly, and bless his heart, we were both learning together, just dimensions and what we would need and what's the right format and all that stuff. And then when it finally got done, at the beginning of March, I was talking to Jill, and she was like, well, when do you want to publish it? And I was like, well, when can I? She was like, you're good to go. You just got to submit it to Amazon to proof, and then you're good. And I was like, no way. So I, everything worked out, and it was published on Amazon on March 27th. Which is super magical day because that's the day that Wilder came home from the NICU. So it's a day where dreams come true. That's why we did that. And so we wanted to keep that day special.
That's amazing.
And so it was like a whirlwind because I'm like sitting there it got published, and my students were amazing.
Aww.
Like, they were so excited for me. Some of them bought the book. Of course, I didn't really talk about it.
Sure.
I was like, I'm not trying to promote my egg.
Of course,
That's
of
not
course.
cool.
Yeah.
But they would ask me questions, and some of them will buy it and bring me copies to sign. And
of
of course, I showed it to them, and they loved it. And
Yeah.
I just remember sitting there being like, God, you are so good, because I was sitting there back in January knowing that I was going to quit teaching.
Yeah.
But not knowing at all, like my goal with just publishing just by fall.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's sitting here like, no.
Yeah.
I like raise you up one.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a book published before you even quit this job. Because I need for you to be confident and like understand like that like I've got you in this.
Wow.
And so the Lord really worked on me a lot over that January to June.
Cool.
Just in preparing me for this transition. I think I had a lot of fear.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Yep.
But so cool.
It's
like how he just
amazing. So so you have it. It's here. It's beautiful. I can't wait. So it's almost a year that it's been out, right? And it is just so cool. I'm excited to read it. I want to read it to my kids. So much fun. And I love that there's a guitarist in it. Of course, you had to put the music inside.
Absolutely.
I have heard you speak about it on your other show that you were on, and so I was just excited. I was like, oh yeah, this is a part of her story, because I'm just thinking, okay, I'm thinking music. That's really, because that's how I affiliate my knowledge of who you are.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hear, like, you obviously have so many more stories. You have more books coming.
I have
more
books coming. Yes.
You now also apply that to songwriting. Like, how did the Hope Within emerge in the midst of all of this?
Oh my goodness. How did the Hope Within emerge? Okay, so Lindsay and I actually met through Greenbrier Intermediate.
Okay.
She was a teacher when I got hired.
Nice.
And she and her husband, Ryan, were worship leaders at a different church.
Okay.
Jack and I were the worship leaders at our church. Just had such parallel lives.
Yeah.
Like, just
Interesting.
husband, wife, worship leader, kind
Yeah.
of duos, combos, teachers, young, like no kids at that point.
Yeah.
And so Lindsay and I's friendship was just one of those ones that you just, it just
seamless. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. Still is that way. And so we, as our friendship has continued to grow, they had a band called To Sin With Love. And they would travel all over the place and lead at camps, lead at different places. They had multiple CD projects out.
Cool.
And they asked me to play violin on one of their CD projects, kind of when I first met them. So that's kind of cool, because I'm like, you guys trusted me.
Yeah.
That's pretty very well, but you just had me coming. It was awesome. So I recorded violin on that, and then I kind of would play with them at different things that they would go to if they wanted me to, if they needed me, that kind of thing.
Cool.
And then the songwriting thing kind of came up with actually one of their opportunities. They had an awesome opportunity as a band to go and write music with a producer in Nashville.
Cool.
And they included me in it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And again, this was like before any of us had kids.
Yeah.
So we, on that spring break that year,
Nice.
all traveled to Nashville, and we wrote music, and that I didn't really think of myself as someone who wrote music. Like, I had written music, I had written songs, I guess you could say, but I really hadn't flexed that muscle of, what does it take to write, especially in the context of worship?
Yeah.
What is it? How can we write a really awesome, solid corporate worship songs to kind of meet the needs of the audiences that we were playing to?
Yeah.
And so that was such a great learning experience for me, because I guess I learned kind of that I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could kind of hang out there,
Yeah.
I'm not the best.
Yeah.
But like, just my gifting with words would help.
Sure.
And then obviously my gifting with musical knowledge and just all of that
absolutely
helps too.
Huge.
So that was an amazing opportunity, and I thank you guys because they believed in me. Wow. They always have. Lindsay has always been such a champion of mine and my writing, especially my writing, my songwriting, and so we kind of formed the Hope Within. I would say Ryan formed the Hope Within
I love that.
Really.
That's her husband.
That's her husband. Yeah. Several
Like,
years
you guys
ago.
are going to do this.
Yeah, because Jen Creasy asked us to play for a thing.
Yep. The Sunrise Festival, or was that?
It wasn't Sunrise. It was something at her church.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was for, but it was kind of like a night of worship, and we were the main. I think we were the main people, and so we kind of needed a title for like what what we were.
Yeah.
And it was like technically the four of us. It was me, Lindsay, Jack, and Ryan.
That's so cool.
But like when we took pictures for the Hope Within, like for some reason Ryan couldn't be there.
And so Jack was like, "You guys are good."
So Jack took pictures of Lindsay and I. And that was the Hope Within. That's kind of a running joke because it was just like it was the four of us.
Sure.
But then we just didn't do much more. Like it just, busy. To Sim with Love was still doing stuff at that point. They were still writing music and stuff, and we had this Hope Within, and it was kind of just an acoustic thing, and so just it kind of organically became just me and Lindsay.
Yeah.
And me and Lindsay would get asked to go lead worship.
Yeah.
For like women's ministry stuff and things like that. And we kind of were like, let's put like a title to this.
Sure.
Let's make this something that we can work with. And so obviously Ryan gets all the credit for our name, The Hope Within.
So good.
Because around that same time, that's when his band, The Outcry, I think was really forming too.
Cool.
And he was kind of pursuing that. And so it was just,
he's like, I don't want to leave my little nest, but you guys do this. It's cute. And I'll go over here.
Yeah, the girls are doing this. So
Cool.
and Lindsay and I really, I mean, it's new still.
Yeah.
It's last year was when we kind of became that and
so
really started kind of pursuing what we thought we wanted to be, and what we thought God was telling us to do.
Sure.
And during the summertime, we just worked on so many different things, like creating cover videos, creating little devotional videos, and writing music. Cool. And then that's how our single Stronger was birthed. And that came out in September of 2019. And so it's obviously hard right now because we both have, our kids are only 3 months apart.
Okay, so little. So they're 3?
Yeah,
now?
Wilder will be 3 in March.
Okay, fun.
Lily,
the 27th. Okay.
Yeah, Lily will be 3 in July.
Yay! So toddler life is a thing in and of itself, beyond the newborn phase, and then the very next phase, it's like you want to go back so bad, but then I'm like right beyond you because mine are 5 and 6, and it's just like they're these little humans now, and they rely on me, of course, but in such a different way, and it's so cool to like cohabitate with them, but you're also fully responsible for their upbringing and like the direction and the paths and the influences, and it's a really big job in and of itself to be a mom. So all stay-at-home moms out there, like I give you a lot of credit because it's a hard thing. Like even my little one, you don't even know this, but she had croup cough last night, and so I didn't want to send her to school. Like she's in completely fine spirits, like totally fine, hasn't coughed one time today, but I kept her home from school, so she went to the doctors with me, we were cooking this morning, like she's been around, and I'm like, what a gift that I have the ability to do this right now. And I actually also work. So it was just a beautiful day the way that it laid out, and I get to go home to her and make sure she's fine after this. So thank you for being a fellow mama who gets it, and it's a fun adventure, but it's so neat that you are already creating a legacy for him to like see and walk out, and it's like attached to his storyline, which is so cool. That's such a beautiful thing. And another thing I wanted to mention as you were sharing like the cultivation of both of these projects, the Hope Within and the book, is like it's really wild what and how social media can portray who somebody is. I know. And like I had no idea that the Hope Within was just from last year. Like I thought y'all had been around forever. I didn't even know anything about it. And then when you become a writer, like, and immediately when you know that somebody's like a published author, you're like, oh my gosh, like you just get this like astuteness. You can push your glasses up and like, this is what I am or who I am. And it's like,
like, it's so wild that like you're in such a newbie phase of all of these things, but yet it's a life's journey that has brought you to that place. And so I just love learning the backstories of things like this because there's so much beauty, there's so much God. So much of your storylines like just overlapped and intertwined, and like he knew all along. I mean, you've been writing since you were little. Your mom could see it. She was pinpointing it before God was like, yep, this is true. He knew, but like in a different way. Again, those like worldly affirmations. And which is funny that you mentioned that too, because I've had that a couple times in the last week, and it was like exactly when I needed to hear it. In the times that we doubt ourselves, and the times that we're like, am I, should I, could I? I really, really want to, but that doesn't mean that I should, right? And you have these conversations with your spouse, and you're like, am I crazy? I'm so sorry that I want to jump out off the bridge. Like, I want to jump. And he's just like, I believe in you. Like, you can fly. And we're so, like, amazing just to be able to have that gift of companionship in our relationships, that they're like, I'm for you. I get it. So many things I said just in 2 minutes, but I hope people were able to follow, because those were all the thoughts that were going in my head as you were sharing your story. It's just so cool. So I'm excited to see like where everything goes, because it's still such a like beginning.
It's so new.
So are you with Wilder full time now that you're not teaching, or does he still go so you can?
I have an amazing person named Tina who has an in-home daycare, and I know her from church, from my old church. And so she has been taking care of him since he was about 6-7 months old. And he goes there still. And thankfully the Lord has worked that out, because he's a very active social person.
And
he
needs that interaction.
He does. He would get so bored with me every day. But I do like that I have the flexibility of some days I'm just like, oh, I'm not going to take you. We're going to go do this, or whatever. But I would not be productive. In any creative sense at all if he were home with me all day. And really just, I was talking to my friend about this earlier, like, it's interesting how, yes, you're right, I am so new to this. Like, I'm learning.
It's so cool. I love it. I'm so new. It's so good, though, for other people to know that there's a starting point.
Right? There is. You can do it. But literally, my husband, even just, like, just the saying I'm an author has been a thing. He's like, you need to stop saying like you're trying to be an author, because you are one, you know? Cool. And again, that's like fear and doubt. Always working on it. God has done a lot. But I just, I was thinking about that the other day, like how I totally forgot what I was going to say.
You said you and your girlfriend were talking about
oh my gosh, it's completely gone. It was new.
You working without Wilder at home.
Yeah, that's not it. Oh my gosh, I lost it. It may come back. But it had something to do with that. Like, just the whole sense of like really accepting who you are and who God calls you to be, and not second guessing it, but not like also like, and I say this all the time, it's so easy to tell people and remind people all the time, like, you are who God called you to be, like, you're this amazing woman of God, and you can do this, and you've got this. But then, like, how hard it can be to, like, say that to ourselves.
It's so true.
And I really struggle with that. I really struggle with practicing what I preach and walking in the victory of Jesus, and reminding myself, like, okay, he did create me this way, and he created me to share these stories. And it is hard because, you know, obviously it's not easy to market yourself. That definitely has been a very challenging point just in this new journey. And you know, it's hard too, because you have to get back up. You know, not everyone is going to want to sell your book. Not everyone is, you know, and it's so that's hard. But you can't let that be something that keeps you from doing what you're supposed to be doing.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm currently walking out the journey of becoming an author. And myself, and I've gone to the She Speaks conference twice, which is amazing. If you get an opportunity to go, Lisa Turkers is just next level. class. I mean, literally I had the Royals on. Have you heard of the Royals yet?
I have not. I saw your post about it today.
Yeah, you gotta check them out. They're local too. 3 sisters of their worship band, and their song tomorrow is actually coming out called Quality Lady. And when I just said that Lisa Turkers was classy, I immediately was like, she is a quality lady. Like the concept of what their song is about and just the message is just incredible. Something, aspiring to that Proverbs 31 woman, right? But it's a hard journey to walk because just like, the world gives you all these things, when we talked about the resume, it's like you feel like you need the verification from man in order to qualify what God has already given you. And it's really frustrating. So, because you're walking this fine line of recognizing that I know God has placed this in me with purpose, and yet I still feel like I need to go the traditional publisher route, and this agent has to say yes for me to be qualified. Right. And that's not the case. It's really not. And you prove that by saying, screw the man. I'm gonna self-publish, which is literally on my heart. Like, I'm submitting this last proposal, and if it doesn't come through, I've already talked to my husband about it. We've prayed about it. I've been like, if this is not the case, like this, I have so many people waiting for this book. Waiting for this message. I agree with you. And it is, if I hold it, which even if they say yes, I'm going to struggle. Even if JMU says yes, and you're like, this is the plan, or tech says yes, and you're like, wait, is that it's a traditional publishing is like 18 months to 2 years. I know. And the story is ready. Like, it's ready right now. And I don't want to sit on it for 2 years. I'm going to be a different person in 2 years. I already know the message for my next book. And so if I wait 2 years and then I have another 2 years because I'm going to do that next book, no, it doesn't make sense. I know. So I get it. I feel it. And I want to pursue it full time too. I'm not there yet, but I'm on the verge, and I'm so easily able to tell other people to just do it. Right. And I'm like, but I have one foot in the door and one foot out the door at this point. So I'm anticipating what the next year is going to look like, and really dive in fully. But it's beautiful to watch other people emerge into their calling and allowing themselves the grace to like do it at a pace that like God would have us do. Because we do have toddlers and other things going on. Right. And you're wearing so many different hats that you want to pursue them all well. I know. Or you need to strip down your boundaries and realize this one's not for now, which was what you did with teaching. Absolutely. Yeah, I had a prophetic word spoken over me at the beginning of last year. Okay. And Pastor Tangi was like, she was really calling out my fear. Like, she was just like, you got to stop living in this place of fear. Like, because he does not give you a spirit of fear. He gives you a spirit of freedom, and this was also one of like the first prophetic words that I received, kind of in the way that it happened. Okay. But she like almost illustrated. She's like, it's like it's God's like holding the gift, and it's like literally right in front of you. Yeah. And she was like, you just need to like receive it, like receive this gift, receive what He has for you, receive it. Like stop allowing your fear and doubt to get in the way of what He's trying to do through you, because you will be the only thing that gets in your way, right? And so I'm not even kidding you. Like, I received word after word after word throughout all last year, literally all last year, even into this year. I received a prophetic word in January at a conference about my writing, and I just am like, am I not receiving it? Like, right. That's always a question of mine. Like, God, am I not receiving this? Because to me, I've received it. Right. Because I'm here. I'm out here. I'm doing this. I do think at some point though, it was affirmation. I think sometimes there is a point of like maybe a wake up call. Yeah. But then I also think God does care for us and does love us. Yeah. And I think He does hear the groanings of our heart. And so I think sometimes when those affirmations come in, it's like a little hug, a big hug. Yeah, so true. And I appreciate that. I'm super thankful for that because it's a lonely journey. Absolutely. I talk about that a lot too. Yeah. Like,
you know, I'm not, and I don't know if you know anything about the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm, I do.
But I'm a type 7.
Okay, that's my hubby.
So I'm very energized by people
and
and other people. So when I'm at home alone, trying to get work done as a creative, I never know really what I'm going to do, nor do I know what's going to be accomplished.
That's so good.
And some days are really great, some days are not great. It just all depends.
Yep.
But it's funny how, like, the moment my husband gets home and the moment, like, Wilder's home, I get energized to like,
create.
do all these things. And maybe not even create, like, oh, I'll do the dishes now, or I'll do this chore. And Jack's always like, you are home all day. Why are you choosing now? And I'm like, because you guys, like, excite me and you're energizing me, you know? And so I do miss that, like, that daily community of teaching because I had a great community. I had great people that I worked with, that I talked with. So it's really important for me to just make sure, like, I'm really trying to find the balance of, like, okay, maybe today's like a coffee shop. Yeah. Like, I need to go work in a coffee shop.
Totally. It's so interesting how that gives you energy, doesn't it?
You know, it really does. And not be home alone. And then some days, you know, it's fine. But you really learn a lot about yourself. So and being because I'm just like, I'm a business owner and I'm a writer and I'm also head of my marketing and some days, honestly, like, to be completely real, I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, oh, I just wish some publishing company would pick up Dreamcatcher and republish it on hardback and take care of all this stuff that I don't want to do.
Sure, absolutely.
Like that, I'm like, that would be the dream, babe. That would be the dream. And I don't even know if it would be the dream, like, right now. Right. But just, like, eventually, if that could happen, so that this career could be what I want it to be. You know, because I want it to be.
And what God has promised you already through these affirmations, through these words. Yes. But that's the timing piece, right?
Exactly.
That's the part that's so hard to, like, hold on to. Because you've jumped in, you're ready, you're like, God, I'm here treading water with you, for you, by you, and the waves aren't coming. I want to surf. I want to get into the shore. What's going on? I feel that way, so I totally get it. And it's also one of the reasons that I created Core Creatives. And because I knew the journey is lonely, because I've been doing it since I got out of college. And I wanted people to realize that it's smoke and mirrors, like, from what we see. Just like when I was, like, taking a look at what you got going on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's been doing this for decades. This is awesome. And you're like, no, I just started. I'm like, what? No, that's not true. So, like, it's necessary that everybody is on the same page. And what better way to do it than within your own community, to let people know, like, we're all treading water. We're all waiting for what it is that we know God has given us. And yet it's up to us to show up. And that's what you're doing in such a lovely way right now. And having the gift and the blessing to be able to do it at this time in your life, like, is just incredible. It is. And other people who are in the group who, you know, are later in life and they're still wanting and still waiting. And so it gives you a lot of gratitude for where you are right now, when you have other people alongside of you who, like, can sense that affirmation, but also say, like, I get it, I hear you, I see you, keep going, because I need what you have. Right. And it's so beautiful. And, like, having a community of women in that regard is just so necessary. So, like, whether you have your author groups or, you know, you've got your singer, your worship teams and things like that, like, staying in community and connection with them, maybe even more frequently than what you're doing right now, would really help you in the sense of being like, okay, what am I working on today? That accountability piece, that encouragement piece. Even just a chat thread with 4 people who are creatives who get it. Maybe it's your illustrator, you know? It's really helpful for me when I see them pursuing what their dreams are, and I'm like, okay, I need to get on to that. I need to get up, because if they're doing it, I'm doing it, you know?
That's good. That's a good word too. And I definitely welcome the growth. I welcome, I'm definitely not one of those people who, I'm not scared to get older. I turned 29 this year. I'm almost to my 30s, and it's not even scary to me, because I almost am just like, you know what? I think, like, how long I played violin, how long it took me to be what I am with that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a long time.
That's a great perspective.
Years of hard work and consistency, and I want to make sure like that, like consistency is I'm putting into every part of my life, like with my health, with my writing, with, you know, my time with God, you know, and even just like basic level, like trying to become a better musician, you know, because I don't ever want to just become like complacent where I'm at. Like, you know, I love to learn. So I always want to make sure I am learning, growing, transforming. So yeah, it's
so good.
I definitely welcome that. And it's so cool because like one of the things that I have to make sure I mention this, but getting the Mom's Choice Award for Dreamcatcher was like a big deal for me because I don't know, like again with that affirmation, I knew I didn't need it. Yeah. You know, like I knew that I was like, okay, I'll apply for this, and you know, if it doesn't happen, it's fine. But I remember being like, oh, I hope it gets picked though. Like that'd be so cool. Just obviously it helps with marketing, and it's on that website. Yeah, it's an award winner. Like that's really awesome. But that was just like, it came at the right time. Yeah. In the fall of just like, oh yay, like we won a Mom's Choice Award, and I love that they're local organization, and then they just are. So that's really that was awesome. Another little God hug in the midst of everything. It's so necessary.
He's so good at it, and one of the biggest things too with that, I call them God winks. Yeah. Then is that you they're there more often than we even recognize. Yes. And so it makes us in the pace that we want to be that supersonic. Sonic the Hedgehog is out in the movie theater, by the way. I need to take a check reminder. The mom hat is off now, but I want to move. I'm like a go. Yeah. I'm like I wake up and I go. Now I'm in bed by 8 or 8:30 usually, but during the day I'm like full speed. Yeah. And so reminding myself in that speed to be really cognizant and really present in each of those supersonic moments, because that's when God winks. And if we're like so focused on God, this is the promise, let me get there, we're gonna miss the journey. We're gonna miss the opportunity of each of the days that you're like, this is hard work, or I feel alone. And like being present with yourself and all of those emotions, and every part of that is going to be the storyline to the testimony that's going to transform somebody else who comes down the road, and you're going to be able to share those moments, and they're like, oh my gosh, not only does she have one book, she's got 15 books, and you're like, let me tell you though. I know. Yeah, let me tell you about book number 1, right? And the 5 years it took to produce. And it's just, I love that part of every entrepreneurial journey. I'm learning more about it as I unpack and learn from other entrepreneurs. Because I love to just like grasp all sense of learning. I'm like, oh my gosh, they created an online course, let me learn about how to do it. Oh my gosh, they have 6,000 people in their facility when they're doing a speech. How do they do that? I want to know what happened 20 years ago that catapulted them into believing that they can do it. And it's always God. It's always God. It's so good. But ultimately, something has to trigger you deep, deep that there is, you know that there's more. And then where are the God winks along the way that keep you getting there? So it's fun. I love learning about your own God winks in your life. And I have so many more questions that I want to ask you. We're going to do episode 2 of 39. This is so good. Amy, thank you so much for being here. You guys, how can they find you? Because I don't think you have a Dreamcatcher Instagram, do you?
No, I just am Amy Henderson Harris. It's my name. It's my handle. So find me on Instagram, and then Facebook is Amy Henderson Harris too. And then I have a website, which is amyhendersonharris.com. Easy. And so if you're local, then you can buy the book directly from me, but then you can also buy it on Amazon. Cool. And that's where it's at right now. I'm really trying to get it in some local stores, so stay tuned. That's cool. I know one that you can immediately get it in. Like literally today, I can get it in. Oh my gosh. Okay, and let's talk about that.
See, this is what my brain is like, constantly working for other people. So thank you for being here. You guys go follow her. And if you have an opportunity to listen in on any of her YouTube with Lindsay with The Hope Within too. They're amazing. I listen to them on the regular when I'm working because they're just so raw and authentic. I love it. So thanks for being here, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Bye. Yay. I'm Tamra Andress. I'm your Fit and Faith host, and I am so excited to just be here to share with you other movers, dreamers, shakers, entrepreneurs, pastors, whatever. If you've got a head and you've got a heart, I'm so excited to explore who that is,
whose you are and discover your wholeness, your health, your wealth, and your joy. I love to exude happiness. I want people to know that this is not, this came with trial. You guys, this came with a lot of effort. This came with a lot of lows and so many highs. And I want us to experience those together. This is a real community of dreamers, and I'm excited to help catapult your calling, your kingdom experience, the purpose of your imprint on the world, wherever, however that is. So come along for the ride. I'm excited to chat with you. Like, comment, review, send me a DM, send me an email. It's me responding, even though I have an incredible team. And so I'm just excited to get to know you. Let's connect, let's create community, and let's walk in our calling.